always more out there on the heavenly level of things than we experience here. Swedenborg says that just like you look at a hand, we just see one thing. It's a little bit complicated, but it's just one object. But if you look inside at the cellular level, there's trillions and trillions of little parts and things. And he says that it's like that within something that just seems like one thing to us, there's so much spiritual and heavenly complexity, and that heaven is always giving us way more than we are aware of in all of these interactions. And that can show up, even though we can't understand it all, that can show up as this connection with the heart. And Swedenborg felt this connection in his own heart, and he recorded it in Secrets of Heaven 176. He said, I remained at one with the heavenly angels, held in a fairly close embrace in the area around my heart, as I perceived and also felt in my pulse. So this was, and he often said that the deepest, highest heaven connected with the heart, and the middle heaven with the lungs. So we kind of have a connection with the spiritual or thinking heaven with the lungs, and the beating love heaven with the heart. And he talks about this further in Spiritual Experiences 4317. It was given me to perceive the pulsation of the heart of heaven in general. So the heart of heaven. It was heavy, somewhat slower than mine, and attended with rather a deep sound. It was said that I was then in the pulsation of the heart of heaven, and I perceived that I was among infants. This pulsation was in the midst of the heart. It was afterwards given to perceive the pulsation of the heart of the heaven of angelic spirits, which was anterior above the navel. The vibrations were more rapid. So he's talking about different levels of heaven, the different kind of heartbeats that they have, and that he could be inside that pulse, and that infants are right in the center of that, the deepest heaven there. So it's a grand concept, and it seems cool, but how does it show up in our life? Like, are we having these connections as well? And how do you notice them, and what does it look like? Well, when we were writing this, Chelsea, who works on the show, said that she had an experience that seemed to relate to this heaven-heart connection. So we asked her to tell it, and this is one example of how this could potentially show up in the life of you or I.
I had this experience around this topic when I was in my early 20s. At the time, I was thinking about, like, who is God? It sounds sort of heady, but like on the surface, Christianity gives you this sense that God is sort of high up in the sky, outside of you, far away, and you're like on this journey to meeting and building this connection or relationship with God. Like, the whole idea of relationship is that it's something outside of you and you're gonna have a relationship with it. What really feels life-giving would be to have this like deep connection, direct access to the divine, to heaven inside of myself. But at the time it felt like, can I really believe that? You know, like if I get quiet and I go into myself or sense inside, I remember having this experience of like, it's just darkness and it's silence in there. Like, where's this big, the divine is within you, you know, connection? I had this one night where I slept, but then when I was waking up, you know, before I had even come fully to consciousness, I was just waking up from sleep. I just awoke to this phrase repeating in my mind, there is love in your heart. There is love in your heart. There is love in your heart. So it's just this simple message of there is love in your heart, but that was such a lifeline to me at the time, and continues to be, that I can still remember it, and it's just sort of a base level, you know, foundation point of like, there is love in your heart, and that presence of love in my heart is something that I can trust, that I really do have this inner access to heaven, to love itself, that I can live from.
And it's fascinating because she's where's God? Looking for God, and the answer is there is a love in your heart, and that love, this is the connection to God. And because if we're talking about how to connect to angels or feel the presence of angels, we're really talking about God, because as any angel would tell you, according to Swedenborg, God is where it's at. This is where angels are getting their angelness, getting all their love. This is God coming through, talking to us. And if Chelsea was told she's got that love in her heart, I think you guys all have it too.